And we are back yet again. We made it. Still here.
Still here, baby.
Oh, God. Welcome to episode 30 of Irresponsibly Long. I'm your host, Steven, along with my esteemed colleague, Eric Johansson. How
Hi,
you doing
bud.
today, Eric?
So good, man. It's good to be back. Another week, another IL.
Love that. I think I may have accidentally started live streaming this to my YouTube channel because I'm stupid.
It's like an Easter egg, or do you want to cancel and start again?
It's all right. We'll fix that in post, I guess. Uh, it should be fine. Anyway, it is currently Tuesday. We just had a little presser by Powell. We got CPI tomorrow. The markets are currently not doing too well. Bitcoin is down 2% on the day. Pukey, puke, puke. Did you catch any of the presser?
No, I just saw that he was saying that QE is not imminent.
Yeah, that was the main takeaway. There would be no QE until 0% rates. Which kind of makes sense, I guess. I mean, I don't know if anybody thought QE was like imminently like around the corner next week. I know we sort of been thinking maybe Q3, Q4 potentially on the horizon. They are tapering off QT, I think, which is good. So yeah, I'm kind of inclined to fade the panic at the moment, but tomorrow is a CPI day. Kind of nervous about this one. Kind of in the post tariff regime. I don't know how much of those cost spikes or anything have been sort of pulled forward into prices yet, but we'll be interested to see how that number pans out. That should be already out by the time this pod is live, I guess. So we'll see if we're cratered.
Does that impact the way you trade? Like, would you try to like stay away from the markets while those red folder days are looming?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good question. I always look at the red folders to start the week. You got to plan your week out. This is pretty important if you're like a day trader. Less important if you're trading like multi-week swings. But you don't want to be trading in a position like right ahead of a news event if that comes out, because that's going to get you wrecked. And you generally don't want to trade like in the day before or the days leading up to like a really, really big event, or even a week that has like kind of like non-farm payrolls is kind of a big one. So if you get like a non-farm payrolls week on a Friday, you kind of get shitty price action. This is like an interesting thing to learn when you start getting into the world of trading, is that like not all price action is created equal. Not all market conditions are created equal. Sometimes people just look at a chart and it just looks all messy and number go up, number go down, and they just think it's always that way. But there are high probability conditions and there are low probability conditions. And you want to be trading during high probability conditions. Those are conditions where price is kind of moving and trading cleanly. And then there's low probability conditions, which is, chop, range bound environments. You can trade those with if you're a range trader, but I think most people aren't. So they trade these low probability conditions. They trade the day before CPI comes out, and price goes up, price goes down. It takes out their stops on the upside, takes out their stops on the downside. Some people refer to those as seek and destroy conditions, where the market is just taking liquidity, and it doesn't go anywhere. And that's generally a bad place to be unless you're a seasoned veteran.
Damn, you had that ready to go. It's almost like we didn't have that rehearsed, but it's almost like we did.
This is all upstairs, baby. It's a lot of
Nice.
a lot of knowledge upstairs in this little noggin of mine. Anyway, let me see what's on the agenda here. I had some notes. I put too much stuff on the agenda this week. There was a lot of things happening. I think you saw did you see Davey Daytrader launched a coin?
Sure did. I sure did.
Jail stool. And just immediately went to zero. Oh my God, like what a chart. This thing is just straight Burj Khalifa status.
Okay, so I have a problem with this. I don't play in these trenches, but my like immediate reaction was like, why are people getting mad at Dave for like also playing in the trenches. Like, wasn't this his point? He's like, you motherfuckers would have dumped on me if I didn't dump on you. That's like, it's the point.
Yeah, he's just playing the game to its logical conclusion, you know? Like
Yeah.
this is just a giant scam fest and it's everybody on the beaches in Normandy, except there's not even like you're not even fighting for a side actually. It's more just like the purge, I guess. Everybody's just running around stabbing each other. That's the game, man. Like you want to play that game. Good for you, I guess. Maybe you have an edge there. That's not a place where I've worked very hard to develop an edge in a very specific area. So although I enjoy dabbling in the trenches occasionally, like there's some fun stuff that happens there, and you know had some big winners and the thrill that comes along with that.
Wait, hold
It's
on. Help
not
me
really.
understand this better, because like as far as I'm like aware, you like to dabble in these things, and you've often called longs or shorts on tickers that are in the trenches. So
Yeah. It's a small size though. You know,
it's more just playing around.
I'm playing around. I trade with like a fraction of the size that I trade the perps with, and because you have to, like, you can't do anything other than size this stuff that to assume it goes to zero. There's no stop losses on some of this shit. It's just like you buy it and it's a zero sometimes.
That's how I feel. Yeah, it's
A zero most of the time. I saw somebody did a study on the recent like month or two of pump coins, or maybe it was last 6 months of pump coins. Um, and they sort of calculated that your odds of like randomly buying a new pump fund token and making a bunch of money were now lower than your odds of playing the actual Powerball.
Really?
Yeah. So
Damn.
it's pretty ugly out there. And yeah, meme coins at large like have just gotten wrecked and continue to be wrecked. I keep waiting for I say keep waiting. I'm waiting for like 3 days, but like I think in the future, I think we get like a nice bounce here on some stuff, and
Like an altcoin bounce.
yeah, like a mini alt season, and kind of waiting for people to call like new paradigm alt seasons here, kind of stuff again, and
I think that
maybe
goes back to your original
short.
point on this pod, where you're like looking for high probability environments. Like that's probably what you're waiting for to get back in the trenches.
Yeah, this is definitely a low probability altcoin environment in general. The depression levels are pretty maxed out at the moment. I mean, we talked last episode, I think, about the bubble chart and how you have multiple bubbles going
Yeah.
on, some that have already played out and are fully dead, and others that are still in the denial phase, and others that are kind of approaching euphoria. So it's a new environment, a much more difficult environment to trade crypto in, because you got to kind of know like what you're longing, why you're longing it, and where you are in the bubble. You can't just blindly long altcoins anymore. I actually tweeted before we started recording that I think like some form of alt season is kind of right around the corner. Like I think there's a decent chance that Bitcoin dominance has put in a top, or has like recently put in a top, if not like not a permanent top, but maybe like a significant local top. And that could mean kind of game on for non-Bitcoin stuff. But the question right now is, which non-Bitcoin stuff do you buy?
Right.
And the way I've been thinking about it is like as far as the majors go, Ethereum, I still don't really want to touch until it goes to 17. Could do well for a time.
It's got to go home first.
Yeah, the risk reward on it seems off to me, but I would like to be a long-term bull again at some point. Solana is obviously the next big one that people talk about, but like the Solana chart scares me. The Solana USD chart kind of looks like it blew off during the Trump mania, and the whole coin and the whole ecosystem is just predicated on crime. And like I don't know how much crime there is left in
It looks
in
exactly
this
like the ETH chart
cycle
against Bitcoin.
Yeah, the Solana BTC chart does look like the ETH BTC chart circa the merge. Maybe like Trump coin is Solana's merge, and we just are just in a giant distribution top, right? So given that I think the reward on Solana from here is like a 2x, right? It's like why take on that risk? And when I look on the Solana chart, like I think Solana is going to $140, like in the not too distant future.
Oof.
And we're still sitting at $200 as we record this. So like, I don't want to long that either. But the last week has given kind of like this interesting opportunity with the crazy price action and the crazy nuke we had with the tariffs. Because you're able to like view very, very clearly which coins are strong and which coins are weak, because you have this sort of, you have two elements. You have the weekly candle, and then you have sort of like the daily candle, or the candle ranges around like the mega dump on Sunday. So there are coins where, you know, you look at the sort of ranges that kind of created the dump, and which coins recovered those ranges and which coins didn't. And most coins like did not kind of recover those like areas of supply that caused the nuke. And so as far as I'm concerned, like all those coins are sort of still just bearish until proven otherwise. But there are coins that like have recovered those zones and actually look pretty good.
What kind of themes are we talking about where these tickers exist? DeFi?
So yeah, I mean, in the Magic Lines Discord, we've started calling them suit coins, which I think is a term that somebody quoted in the Discord from somebody else on Twitter, and I stole it because it sounds cool. I like it. So we're longing the suit coins. Suit coins is kind of it's part DeFi, but it's also part like Dino shit. Like I'm not like hash graph H bar, right? Was that DeFi? Nah, not really. It's like a suit coin. XLM, XRP. Is that DeFi? No, those are suit coins. H bar and XLM in particular look like pretty good out of those coins.
Damn.
Ondo looks really, really nice for some reason. I don't understand, because the project just has like some minuscule amount of TVL relative to its market cap, but the chart looks good. I mean, Ondo like completely recovered like the entire Sunday dump when we had that dump, and closed the day higher. Just one of the strongest coins out of anything I've looked at when you sort of look at how it behaved during the nuke. So I've been focused on that. There are also these coins that like have already just nuked so badly that they sort of kind of traded outside their December, November ranges and then back inside. So like a little range reclaim plays. We called Virtual Sunday at $1.10 and basically bottom ticked that traded up to like $1.45 last night or so. So ripped like an enormous gain on that. So there's a bunch of these coins that have sort of have these like reclaims and are going to rip and provide really, really nice bounces. So interesting trading environment over the next month or two, probably. Some combination of just trading bounces and, you know, maybe also just logging stuff that has like a narrative behind it, like the suit coins. But definitely a trader's environment right now for sure.
Seems like a favorable environment for subscribers to Magic Lines Premium, following your ins and outs.
I like to think so, Eric. I like to think so.
Calling bottom ticking things. Love it.
Well, we just closed off the founders membership, so that mega discount is no longer there. But we might do a little like secondary thing in the near future. So if you're interested in that, you know, shoot me a DM on Twitter, or tag me, or you know, hit me up in the Alfalfa Discord, and I'll see it. Maybe we'll start a list or something. But for now we're back to max price for the lines. So
still worth it.
I like to think so. Mr. EJ. I like to think so. Is there anything you're looking at in TradFi land right now?
TradFi land. Well, we got corporate earnings season.
Oh, we got coin this week, right?
Coin is this week, and my bags are heavily dependent on what the bald man's going to do.
My bags as well, sir. I'm
pretty bullish.
This is a bit of a yeah. I like to hear that. I was thinking about actually selling a bunch of my coin post earnings.
Oh, because you're imagining a little rip higher post earnings.
No, I mean, there's a lot going on here. So on the one hand, I think like our biggest comp to coin has been Hood for a while, and Hood is just like undeniably stronger. So I would
It's
like to
crushing.
sell some coin for Hood. I mean, the Hood chart just looks incredible compared to the coin chart. So that's one thing. Um, the other thing though is sort of like a larger theme I want to talk about, and I think like a lot of people listening can probably benefit from this. I've definitely been having this like slow come to Jesus moment for a while now, but I think recently especially, I've just decided I'm very done like mentally and financially overcommitting to crypto
Yeah.
because I think you spend so much of your life in a space, right? And you dedicate a lot to it. You become like sort of committed to it, and it's just inertia at a certain point. You just keep doing the same thing. Same thing happens in investing. You keep like longing the same stuff. You keep longing the same stuff. You just keep going back to it. Like you just have this sort of inertia. You want to keep doing what you're doing, but like I don't know, man. Like if I look around at the world and like how crypto fits into it, this has been like an especially disheartening cycle for me. Not because we did something that I didn't expect we would do, because I actually did fully expect this to be like a full financial nihilism. Like, why bother with the pretenses
Yeah, you've been
anymore?
calling for that for a long time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, have sort of been on that narrative and pointed it out. Was it Travis Kling? Is that his name? I forget. He wrote that piece like a while back. I forgot the title, but the lack of pretense that any of this shit fucking does anything or ever will. I think that was like
Right,
the
right.
title or something equally flippant. Um, and I just don't think it has to be this way. I think Bitcoin has largely succeeded so far in doing what it sought to do.
Yep.
I think Solana has done a good job of succeeding in its sort of quest. Although, like, I would argue that quest is basically just like the enablement of a crime at the moment. So cool.
Sure.
Um, and there's some cool stuff built on ETH, but like it's like we've had DeFi forever, and like we just haven't built any. Actually, I don't know that it's true that we haven't built anything new, but certainly none of the stuff that we've built has been used in any kind of interesting, novel ways like that I'm seeing. We're just kind of doing a lot of the same shit over and over again. Um, the one kind of glimpse of coolness we had was in the little AI mini bubble. But you and I, and honestly everybody else, I think was just like, well, this is just going to crash. Obviously, it's just quite a matter of a when, not if, because we're getting ahead of our skis here. The tech isn't there, and we're just building kind of glorified chatbots, yada yada yada. So obviously that nuked, and although that was like fun and interesting times for like a few weeks, that's dead now and in a pile of flaming wreckage, right? So I'm sitting here and looking at the rest of the world and what we're doing with AI and robotics and biotech. And there's so much interesting stuff happening. And there are so many other markets to trade that are not only interesting, but like that are like positive sum. And I think that's really the most grinding thing to me about crypto right now is that like we're just playing these like negative sum games like where people are battling each other, and then like we have these like ever more sophisticated third parties like your pump funds of the world that are just like rapid extracting money from the ecosystem, the Trump coin rapid extracting money from the ecosystem. And like, man, you are really swimming up current, right? But why do that like when you can a long like Bitcoin, right, which has flows now. At least it has Sailor, and it has maybe like every state seems to be launching a fund to buy Bitcoin, and you have an ETF, and people are starting to put it in their retirement accounts, right? So why not trade that market? Or why not go outside of crypto and trade
AI
something
stuff.
in AI or one of these new industries? Like it's something that creates value, that is sustainable, that exists in ETF wrappers, that has funds, that flows coming into it. Like, why are so many of us just sitting here bashing our fucking heads against the wall with so much of our net worth in this like godforsaken asset class
Well,
where we could be doing that, you
you're
know?
speaking my language, because this is like a sentiment that I've sort of been harboring for a year now. And I think like when we were having this discussion previously, when I was sitting in the seat that you're currently occupying, begrudging crypto, the industry, you would tell me, well, something along the lines of like, well, none of this was legal until just very recently. So like the opportunity to build cool things like wasn't really even on the table. And now the paradigm has shifted, and let's see how things go going forward. And I remain optimistic that we can build some cool stuff in crypto still. But I agree with you largely. It's like it does take like too much of our mind share for the size that it is. As an investor, of course, you're always looking for like early access to moonshots. And I've always wondered like which of these crypto projects are what I call compounders, things that like gain value over time because they're just providing more value or delivering more value to users. And I think Bitcoin has definitely crossed that chasm. It's a compounder. I want more Bitcoin. But I still wonder what else is. And I think, maybe the AI pump was promising. Like maybe there was going to be some compounders built out of that, but it seems less likely now. But that still remains an open question for me. I know that compounders exist in TradFi, and that's where I've been spending a lot more of my time.
Yeah, and I don't mean to like blanket hate on all of crypto because I don't think it's all a waste of time and it's all a drag. I do think the space in aggregate, on average, even the weighted average of it probably that statement is probably true to a large extent. Um, I think if people are going to stay in this industry and keep devoting time to it, I think people need to like get the fuck out of this like meme coin mindset. And if people devoted the same energy they devoted to like fighting in the trenches, trying to find these 100xers, right? But you just redirect that energy to sort of just combing through the wreckage of all of the projects, try to understand the entire landscape, what people are building, what like actually has promise, like what niches like actually may have promise, like who's building something in that area. Is there a token? Like, is there like a path to future like user growth and revenue, that sort of thing? Like, there are probably some real diamonds in the rough right now, like right as we hit just peak despair, or close to peak despair, maybe, on altcoins, but coinciding with like an entirely new regulatory regime. So it really is the intersection of a couple of like really nice complement factors that could provide like a really 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 bullish setup for somebody with like a long-term time horizon to make an investment that maybe mirrors more like what we would see in the TradFi world. But like people they gotta redirect their time and they gotta redirect their energy, because this other stuff is like it's a it's a real losing game, and the participants you're going against they just keep getting like more and more sophisticated by the day. It's rough out there.
I do think you're right that like even like the work that's being done in the gem hunters on the Alfalfa Discord, like that's like deep research. That's like a hedge fund level analysis that could be applied elsewhere. But I was also thinking, I don't begrudge the meme coins as much anymore. Some part of me feels like it's an important step to like, because it's a possible, because meme coins are possible, we have to like take that as far as it can go for people to be like, oh yeah, that was stupid, and then we'll just like move on from that. So I think I am just fine sidestepping that entirely and like letting that do its thing, and then before we actually move on. But I think that like the compounders are probably quite obvious to see if you kind of like take a step out of the trenches, like what protocols have like value accrual mechanisms. Like start with that. And like if you start with like the primitives that crypto did introduce, the financial primitives that are valuable are like borrowing, lending, trading, and the protocols that enable those in a like very well are probably going to succeed over long term.
Yep. I would tend to agree. Be interesting to see what the market ultimately does with something like maybe Maker. That's probably maybe that's the best. Is that the best example of something we have with sustainable, like large amounts of revenue in crypto?
Maker's good. Uni's good.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff on the horizon that could totally change the landscape of a lot of these things. It's just yeah, tough times right now to just be generally underweight Bitcoin, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wonder though, like you mentioned that Bitcoin dominance is like finding a local top. Like if Bitcoin has sort of like poked itself ahead of everything else to be like, this is a compounder, something you want to hold forever. Like what happens when you just go all in Bitcoin and then like Bitcoin dominance has peaked? Like,
yeah, I mean, well, if your time horizon is really long, then nothing, Bitcoin dominance is like, we're talking about maybe a 2 to 6 week trade cycle. When I talk about Bitcoin dominance peaking, it's like, yeah, maybe we can just long some perps for a little bit with the boys. But that's not like a generational peak type thing. It's very hard to see how Bitcoin just doesn't keep, or everything doesn't just keep going to zero versus Bitcoin for the most part. I mean, like meme coins, especially, all like, I got to think more about this trade or how to pull it off. But like, there's still just so much market cap of memes out there that just has to go to zero, like relative to Bitcoin. That's something I want to think about. It's hard to put these trades on because we saw even like this weekend, like Popcat was up like 50% in one day. You short that with leverage, it's like you get wrecked pretty hard. So I think putting on that trade is a little tricky, but there's probably something I need to look into and how to do this with like a basket with some sort of like trend following DCA type strategy where don't get like uber blown out, but like you just know that like if you can hold on to like a basket of this stuff, like it's just going to be zero. Like it does feel like just like such an interesting trade. Like where else has this trade like ever existed in the TradFi world? Like have you ever seen anything where it's just like a free, well, it's not free, I guess, but just like it's just it's going to zero, and like you're not paying like 8% a day in funding to put the trade on?
I saw somebody tweet, I don't remember where I saw it, but there were 52,000 new meme coins launched in a day on Pump Fund.
Seems low.
It seems low. So like that has like a massive dilutive effect. If any of these things succeed, it's like pulling money from the other winners, and like it's not onboarding new people really.
It's just crabs in a bucket, baby.
Yeah.
It's just crabs in a bucket. Hard to get out of that bucket. All right. Let's see. What should we talk about next here? We got 20 minutes in. Let's go straight to some trade ideas, and maybe if we have time in the end, I'll throw this little curveball.
Okay. Well, I guess in following the theme you mentioned, which is like stepping out of crypto for a second, I got this trade idea from our beloved Alfalfa co-host Nick Urbani, who runs an e-commerce company, and he spends a lot of money on digital advertising, specifically on a platform called AppLovin, ticker symbol APP. And this thing's been kind of on fire lately. And they report earnings this week, and Nick is, there's no like insider knowledge. I just know that Nick is spending a lot of money on the platform, and all of his competitors and peers are doing the same. To become an advertiser on the platform, you have to spend $100,000 a day on ads on app. So he thinks that they're going to blow out earnings. I'm a little hesitant to sort of chase this price action, and I think maybe it's kind of like priced in already. So what I'm doing instead, like I'm taking a bullish view by selling puts. So app is at like what, 370 or something like that?
378.
378. I think they're going to do well on earnings. One way to do that is to like buy app or buy calls on app. I'm hesitant because maybe it's already priced in. So I'm selling puts 2 to 3 standard deviations out of the money. So that's at like 300, 290, 265. And those are paying handsomely. I think they're like $300 each for every contract at the 290 level. So as long as this thing doesn't go down by 30% by Friday, I'm gonna make a few $1,000s, and that's away from me.
So you're making about 1% just through Friday?
Well, yeah, but that's on that's also on like the notional value of those.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I trade is on margin, so I'm actually only getting applied like $10,000 my buying power. So it's actually like a 10% yield by Friday. So long as they win, which is a risky move, because I probably have like $250,000 on the line. If this goes to zero, then I'm going to lose a lot of money. But I don't think
that sounds pretty juicy. But
I think
it sounds like the degen play here is to just follow Nick's his little gut there.
Yeah, well, I'm liking the stock, but I'm just like too scared to go long. So
yeah, my brother is a media buyer, right? So he uses this platform.
Has he talked to you about it?
Yeah, he says it's a money printer.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about.
And like I've heard Google reps are just freaking out because everybody's leaving. Like they can't get people to monetize their apps with the Google ads because the Google ads are such fucking dog shit. They don't pay anything, but somehow AppLovin is like just crushing Google. They're just giving the app creators just like such a much bigger return. Seems to be the word on the street. But as you say, it's like a question of like how much of this is already priced in. When was the last earnings?
Well,
like November?
3 months ago, yeah.
It's interesting that must have been this little pump here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
the market's also pricing in to the upside. So you could, like, if you want to buy a call by Friday at 500 strike, you got to pay $500 for that. So, so
damn.
I think there's high expectations, and instead of like playing the price action, I'll play the volatility.
You can just buy the underlying, it's still a pretty big, it's a pretty big move. We don't have to be like that degenerate sometimes, you know?
Right.
This is a common question I get where people are like, oh God, should I buy options on this? And I think an interesting play if you want to buy options on this is to play it with deep in the money options.
Yes, that's a good one.
Maybe buy like a 200 or a 250 or something like that. Because if you do that, then you're going to have less exposure to volatility decay in your contract. That's what kills you in these things. You buy calls before an earnings day, and the volatility, like implied vol, is very high, and then the earnings come out and implied vol collapses, and the value of your contract collapses. Oftentimes, like there's a big move, and you don't make any money on it because so much of that option contract value was the volatility, and people think they're just buying the price move. So if you want to play this, like if you think the insiders here with the inside knowledge are right and their bullish call, when is earnings, by the way? Is this
tomorrow?
Come out tomorrow? Oh yeah. No, the pod's already going to be out.
Well, people can see how we did.
Oh no! All right. Maybe we can put it in the Discord. All right, I gotta implement a new rule, Eric. No non-actionable, no hindsight alpha.
No, this is a thought process alpha. I think
Okay, well, we'll use this as a learning experience.
Yeah, this is
Okay, so
informative.
the main takeaways here are selling puts into earnings as an expression of bullishness because you're the one on the other side of that volatility premium, which I like. And if you like the degen play and you want to kind of like levered long this, don't do it with out of the money calls. Like do deep in the money calls. Deep in the money calls. Just try to get as much of a pure delta play as possible. Maybe you only get like 2x or 50% or 30% leverage in the end, depending on the price of this. But like, I don't know, man. Like you get like a 30% move with 50% leverage. That's a 45% move.
Yeah, it's pretty good for a Friday.
A couple days or something, like or 1 hour. Just you got to be happy at a certain point with we can't make like 20x in a day on everything, you know. All right, cool. Well, I like that. I like that. What you had something else, right? What else you doing? Was it?
Oh
Tesla?
yeah, I was looking at Tesla, and I was hoping to get your eyes on a Tesla chart, because I've been long Tesla calls for a while, and I remember this has been like kind of a hot one for us back before Elon was part of the Trump cabinet. You know, I think you were famously calling Tesla to zero or to like $40, and then you flipped long. You flipped long after Elon got involved.
Yeah, you
Trump.
can't. I definitely publicly said no, not fading this.
Right.
Yeah, it's been up only basically, well, mostly up only since then.
But now we got a pretty nice pullback, and you know, something I was thinking about was like, Elon's doing some crazy stuff. I think when you start cutting government jobs and affecting people's lives, you probably create some vitriol, and maybe the Elon acolytes are dropping like flies. I'm wondering. The price action would suggest that people don't like what he's doing.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought Tesla up actually, because I was looking at this chart. I actually talked about it in this week's Magic Lines Premium video.
Nice.
Oddly enough, because I was talking to the guys and gals in the Discord about how I want to start trading more like real things. And Tesla's interesting to me because love Elon or hate Elon, or whether or not you think some of the stuff they're building is just a complete scam or it's going to change the world. And it's like interesting the disparity of opinions that people have on this, right? You have everything from this is a scam to like this changes everything.
Right.
But this kind of fits into that bucket of like stuff I can trade that has volatility. Like Tesla has incredible volatility.
Like more than Bitcoin, probably.
Probably at this point, yeah. And you strap like options onto it, and it has like more volatility than most altcoins, right? So then you sort of are in this like bucket where you're like, okay, if I can trade, or if I like at least know how to wield like an options contract, like why do I trade altcoins instead of just trading Tesla options, right? Get the same return, I get the same risk profile, you know, I could make it the same.
They're all just candles at the end of the day to you.
They're all candles, man. They're all candles. But I mean, I decided I didn't want to long this at the moment because you know, December candle, sweep candle. You know, this is pre Elon doing anything, right? So December monthly candle is just a sweep of this range high. Sweep candle being, you know, you trade above and take all the liquidity and close back inside. Typically more of like a bearish setup, you know, if price is failing to break out of the range. And like typically when that happens, price tends to move to the downside and look for demand, look for liquidity. We had such a illiquid move up, like from the election. You can see we just had these like mega candles up, and even if I pull up like a daily chart, it still is just like basically up only for the most part. Man, I'm really wishing I was talking last week about how this is probably a good portfolio hedge with puts, but I did not put any on, and now it's just kind of running away from me. So, oopsie there. But when I look at a chart like this and I'm thinking about where to buy, you know, my eye is first drawn to like the higher time frame, like demand, like the mega high time frame, which is like this entire move down. And I look at like where the 50% of that level is, because that's usually the good buying opportunities. So for Tesla, it's about 257. And I look for like lower time frame confluence, like is there anything there? And you do have like a nice little weekly order block here.
Right at the
about at that
50%
like
level.
257 level, that 50% level. So I'm pretty interested in getting long Tesla around there. Maybe buying just some shares around there. And then depending on how price action develops, maybe looking to put on like a trade on top of it. But I'm not usually like just catching knives with trades, but I'll bid a level for like a long-term buy and hold, sure. So yeah, I think we're going there.
So Tesla's currently trading at what, 330?
330, right? So it's pretty good drop, 25% or so drop down. It's always possible. Like, I wonder what it looks like if I pull up a 2-month chart. Yeah, like depending on where this month closes, you'll end up with like a sort of an imbalance on the 2-month chart, and sometimes price just trades into the imbalance and like goes. Um, I I think in this case it's just more likely that you see what did I say, 257 or so.
Yeah.
And I think I would be biased towards looking for shorts, looking to sell calls, looking to buy puts or whatever if we get any sort of kind of retrace up. It's kind of how I think about trading in general. Is I try to kind of zoom out to like a really high time frame. So here, I showed you this big range, and we showed you like the monthly sweep and the inefficient move up. So given the context of what's happening on like basically like the 1-year chart and the multi-month chart, when you're trading like weekly candles or daily candles, you want to be trading with that sort of higher time frame order flow in mind. And I do think that order flow here is bearish, short-term bearish, just looking at like a retrace. And then I assume like a lot higher for Tesla in the coming years. So
where do you land on like the high level view on Tesla, on that spectrum of this is a complete scam versus robotics and driverless taxis are the future?
I don't have a strong opinion, honestly. I don't. There are definitely people who are a lot brighter than I am when it comes to the quote unquote fundamentals of this stuff. I just like Tesla because it kind of trades like an altcoin. It kind of is an altcoin. It mostly just trades on like hopium, right? I don't think I don't know, you tell me, are there like really compelling value earnings multiples on this thing?
No, if you ran a DCF on this, it would give you an output that's like in the double digits.
Yeah, so it's a meme coin. It's a better meme coin. It's a meme coin where some dev didn't snipe the supply and rug you. It's an unruggable meme coin.
But like, I will say this, like, has a similar profile to other mega cap growth names. Like if you ran DCF on like early Amazon, and I'm talking about Amazon for like 20 years, it would give you some number that like doesn't make sense until it does. And like the company actually grows into that valuation. I think Tesla is a pretty good candidate to actually grow into this.
Yeah. Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't really care. It's a great meme coin. It's a meme coin with the richest guy in the world, with the biggest media platform in the world, constantly pumping its bags. It's kind of amazing, actually, when you frame it like that.
Do you want the robot? If the Optimus robot comes out at $20,000,
yeah, I want the robot. I want so many robots.
I
like
know.
the future world where like I just have robots doing stuff, for me is unbelievable. Like if I had like a kitchen cleaner, like if I had a robot that just straightens up my house, like loads the dishwasher and stuff. Oh my God. Amazing.
Even just as a toy, a $20,000 toy would be fun. I think everyone's going to want a robot.
I mean, if it could like dink with me, I guess that'd be cool.
Nice.
I mean, we got to be. I wonder how many years away we are from a dinking robot, like a pickleball robot. I bet you current robot technology could dink no problem. It's probably like easy mode for a robot.
It's going to be upset with you because you can't dink.
Oh my God, the counters would just be like lightning fast. You won't be able to get anything by that thing. It'd be so amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, it's funny you bring up Amazon too, because I was looking at Amazon as one of my things to trade because I mean, look, it just goes up.
Yeah, up only technology.
It's up only technology. Like why? Why do we long other things? So yeah, I look forward to adapting a lot of what I do for individual stocks. I haven't traded like a ton of individual stocks. Obviously, we've had some minor plays and hood plays and all this stuff, right? But I've mostly traded futures because I like the 24, well, almost 24/7 nature of them and the built-in leverage, right?
Yeah.
Stocks are weird for me because they have so many gaps. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to work all the gaps into what I do. I think it's a solvable problem. But yeah, you get like so many funky candles where the candle's lower, but it's green for some reason, just because it opened like gapped lower, but then closed up. And like, is that really like a green candle or is that actually like a red candle? Um, it's a little funky for me for sure.
Well, I'm very excited for this evolution, this journey you're about to embark on, because I feel like with our powers combined, there's some good alpha in there.
How do you feel about Home Depot?
It's been like the benchmark for me to measure Ethereum's market cap against for years.
Really? Amazing. I mean, Home Depot is truly up only technology. I mean, yes, we did have COVID, but like you take COVID out, like anything else, it just only goes up. And you want to talk about like tailwinds, right? Like the tailwinds this stock has are like unbelievable, right? Because you have two forces at play. You have this massive populist push now to just build more homes and build more stuff, right? And then you also have this tailwind of like boomers dying off and either, you know, and the kids inheriting the homes and either living in them and like not wanting to live in grandma's like fucking living room and just doing like remodels and tear downs, or they're selling it to another millennial Zoomer couple who also doesn't want to live in grandma's living room. So kind of feels like those two things are just going to push this thing perpetually higher.
It is crazy.
From like a technical perspective, it's a little awkward spot because you're outside the
hold
range
on.
back in.
You're a homeowner and so am I. Like, I don't know how much you're spending at Home Depot, but like I'm spending like crazy money at Home Depot. Like my wallet share, that Home Depot is absorbing is actually insane. And I'm not even that handy. I know like handy people are spending all their money at Home Depot.
Oh yeah, I bet. I mean, I don't really. I have a handyman who just does stuff because I'm useless. But I imagine he's spending a lot of money at Home Depot on my budget. So
yeah,
definitely gonna be looking for a long setup here.
So what have you
just nibble some?
What have you outlined here? You have a big red shaded area.
Yeah, that's sort of like my range. It's like my range high. Kind of do my range highs as like zones, like ranges within ranges, because it tends to kind of better represent how price moves to me. So price is it's kind of trapped right now, right? If you zoom in on it, it's basically like trading like it's above like the lows of the range within the range, but it's trading like below range highs. And you did have like a kind of over under thing here with like a yearly level. It's got maybe like a little mini head and shoulders there, right? So not like an unbelievable setup on the lower time frame right now, but like but when I zoom out, it's like, oh God, I gotta find a way to get in on this, right?
Yeah.
You zoom out, goes up only. How do I get in? How do I frame a trade? And ideally, how do I frame a trade where I can like lever it up too, right? Like, because if you can, investing is one thing. You just buy the stock, right, with the money you have, and you don't think about it. You just buy it, right? But when you're trading, you're often using leverage. You're often risking a percentage of your account. You got to think about like, where is the trade wrong? How do I do what we call an invalidation? And depending on how tight you can get that invalidation, like you can like lever the trade up a lot. Like if you want to risk like 1% of your account, and you can use market structure, whatever your edge is, to get like a really tight invalidation, like you may be able to put on like huge size and get like massive upside, like if you kind of bottom ticket, and then only risk, again, like 1% on the way down. So it's a, beautiful thing if you can accomplish it. And the worse you are at trading, like generally the wider you make those stops, the wider the invalidations, it's safer to put stuff below like monthly and weekly levels versus trying to call bottoms on like the 1 hour chart or something that are like multi-month bottoms, which is not an easy game, and not a game most people should attempt, me included.
So Home Depot's at what, like $415 right now? Is that right?
$415, baby.
Okay, so one way I would like to play this is by buying in the money calls like you had described earlier. And what I'd like to consider doing is like layering in an additional leg where I'm short a put that's even lower. And I consider that like just an extra way to juice the trade. So if it's at 415, I'd sell a put at 150 or something and be very confident it's not going to go below that. And that's just a way to increase my returns.
You sell those like weekly and then roll them, or you sell them like a month out?
No, I'd probably play the leap on both. So
okay,
long dated in the money call, also with a long dated short put.
I saw some research. I forgot where it was, but it was sort of indicating that when you like write contracts, it seems like it's like kind of optimal to like just take money off the table when you've captured like 50% or so of that, and to not ride the entire premium to expiration.
A lot of people do it different ways.
Is that something you think about?
A lot of people do it different ways. Like a lot of my stuff is like very short dated, so like 1 week maturities, and on those I'll often just like let them expire worthless on Friday. It really just becomes a matter of like how much buying power do you have remaining, and how much do you want to free up to like do more trades. And that becomes like your analysis is like, okay, so if I have to pay 50% of this, like if I won 50% of it, then I got to pay 50% to close it. I have to go and use that money to go make that money elsewhere. Otherwise, it's not worth my time. I'd rather just let it expire.
Interesting. Lot to the options game, man. A lot of it seems a lot harder to me than what I do.
It's so funny because it seems so easy to me, but I guess the way that I do it is just like, I don't know, comes natural.
There's a lot of math. There's a lot of math. I feel like you can get like super quant heavy on that stuff.
Yeah, and I try not to dabble too much in that, to be honest. But you can.
Cool. Well, let's wrap this with my big position of the week. I guess for one thing, like I am extremely long Bitcoin now as of this morning.
Oh, nice! This is hot
yeah,
alpha.
I am bullishly biased on Bitcoin. I'm expecting a move back, 104K or so. Hopefully break out, but Bitcoin to me is just it's just in a giant range, and I do think there is the possibility that it just does this shit for like another 3 or 4 months, right? So I don't want to be like longing the bottom of the range and holding for a breakout only to have it just round trip me every time. But yeah, I've been buying pretty heavy down here in this 94K region, hoping to kind of unload 103, 104K, maybe hold a little runner for a breakout, because I do see reasons why we want to get like a leg higher. Like I just don't think the move is done here at 108. Like I feel like 120, 130 has to be in the cards. Hope I'm right about that, or I'm gonna be losing a lot of money over the next couple of weeks. But on a related note, I did put on a fairly sizable MSTR position yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah. So I kind of came at this from like a technical perspective. Basically, we had this sort of like blow off move and then pretty substantial dump from the highs there. What do we dump? Like almost 50%. So pretty big retrace. I've been on the Irresponsibly Long MSTR Twitter group for a while.
Group, yeah.
Yeah, it provides me with this like nice little sentiment gauge. And for like many weeks now, that it is like we're past anger. Like we actually went into like you could visibly see like the denial, and then there was like an anger phase. It's like the stages of grief. There was like bargaining, like please, Sailor, just don't hit, just hit the ATM only half as hard, Mike, please. Like, and now it's just like it's just basically like people have given up. They're like, oh, this stock's just it's gonna go down versus Bitcoin forever, and the premium is collapsed quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I really like where we're at right now. It seems to me like we've kind of put in a little bit of a structure break, and now like a little bit of a inverted head and shoulders bottom here in this zone. And I bought, I think, pretty close to this level. I think like 322 or something. I bought deep in the money option. Not too deep actually. I think I bought 300s for June.
Okay.
Trying to take this thing to maybe like 440 or so, and then hopefully break out. But it looks good from a technical perspective. I was already in this trade, and then I saw you follow Capital Flows on Twitter. I think he actually lives here in San Diego. I saw him on Twitter hanging out with another trader I know who lives here.
Damn, we should get
together.
Hit him
up. I know. He's kind of like a macro big brain, unlike my smooth brain line drawing self. But I saw he's long. He's long MSTR too now, apparently.
Nice.
Which I thought was interesting. He's been pretty bearish on equities for a while, and I saw him flip like turbo bullish the other day after the tariff stuff. And MSTR has sort of been like a tag along for that, I guess. I think his Substack is capitalflowsresearch.com if you want to check him out. And he's got a little paid thing that I'm not a member of, but I know he does it. But he's looking at MSTR, I think, from like it's an interesting other take to what I'm doing, because this is kind of from like more of like a positioning standpoint. So the first chart he has here is basically showing that these are implied vol premiums, and you can see how these things just blew the fuck out in November. This is like where like you don't want to be buying calls. Like there's people who don't know what they're doing, right? They're just fucking YOLOing Microstrategy calls in November as the I vol premium just goes to the absolute moon. But you can see recently there's a complete capitulation in that in December. That was kind of like our oh fuck capitulation phase on MSTR before we moved into the anger and depression. And you can see these premiums are still negative.
Still negative. Is, and like another thing I'm noticing by looking at that is that like the spikes come pretty rapidly. They come on quickly and then like as bursts.
Yeah, I mean, if you can time this stuff with options, I mean, you can make a fuck ton of money if you can position before these little bursts. Like, I don't know that I'm smart enough to do that, but what else we got here? Yeah, so he's, I mean, similar entry, similar stop to what I have. I think he's in at 345. This chart is total call open interest minus total put open interest, saying like basically call open interest is like rapidly expanding as you've got this implied vol premium like negative.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a push up in Bitcoin at this point, you have basically the groundwork laid for a gamma squeeze.
Gamma squeeze, yeah,
our favorite thing, baby. Gamma squeeze. MSTR gamma squeeze is like the thing I've been waiting for in my bones for a while. And he said, yeah, once a call versus put volume makes a spike, we're likely to be off to the races. We've not had that spike yet. But he seems to think this is a great setup from an options, basically an options perspective, options flows, options premiums. The TA is there. So
I love this.
I like this trade right now, but we need Bitcoin to grow a pair of balls and just hold this 95K level. because if Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes back to the 80s, MSTR is not going up. But
Right.
I like the risk reward here. You're at the bottom of the Bitcoin range, right? We assume the range holds, and you also have this nice backdrop of this nice options set up along with it, maybe to pour a little fuel on the fire. The risk is knowable and calculated, and the upside could be very good.
Yeah, I like this, and like this analysis too. Let's get together with this guy. I think you sort of made my point for me. It's that like when you have sort of like Bitcoin beta, you're dependent on Bitcoin, and like Bitcoin's been going sideways, so this thing hasn't performed. Same with like stacks and miners and all the other Bitcoin beta. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, MSTR has this additional kind of thing where it's got the premium. You know, it trades at some sort of premium to the net asset value, and as you saw Bitcoin go sideways or slash down, that premium also just collapsed, right? Which is why Bitcoin didn't lose too much value, but MSTR is down 50%.
Yep.
Does this qualify as buying when there's blood in the streets? I mean, there could be more blood in the streets. Like I think we talked about how like if Bitcoin loses this range and starts going back towards the 70s, right? You're going to get $140, $150 MSTR, which is why you use stop losses. But assuming Bitcoin does hold, I mean, could be nice.
Could be nice.
Could be a nice tasty treat for the portfolio. So hopefully that pans out for me. Pray for me. The Bitcoin chart is not looking too good right now. But maybe CPI tomorrow gives us a nice little boost.
Good one, man. I like this.
All right, cool, man. Well, let's wrap it there. Great convo today. I enjoyed that. Had some nice little nuggets, some nuggets of wisdom, some trade ideas. Hopefully this trade is more like Baba, which is absolutely sending.
Oh yeah, great one.
Everybody's talking about it now. Everybody's talking about
great
Baba
one.
suddenly on Twitter. Yeah, let's just focus on that and not the Uniswap trade, and we'll be good. You know, we can't all be first round picks.
Nice. Well, always a pleasure, my friend. Until next time.
Always a pleasure, buddy. We will see you all next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Adios.